HM Productions presents White Devil Podcast.
Welcome to the White Devil Podcast, episode 22, the Disney TV cartoon podcast. I'm your host, TheHande, and as always, I'm joined by my co-host. He comes from a land down under, where beer flows and men chunder. Can't you hear that thunder? You better run, you better take cover. It's Retrokaiser.
Nice.
You were so impressed by that introduction that you don't have much to say. Is that or are you still eating?
Wasn't expecting that, not gonna lie.
All right, and my guest, longtime listeners of the podcast will know him better as T-McBee, but she also goes by another name on the internet, which is Logolaranja, na 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 na, Logolaranja.
Whoa.
It's T-McBee.
I am not that typical. Okay, it might be a Spanish/Portuguese username, but it doesn't mean I don't want to play that big stereotype.
Oh, come on. I just did a little bit of La Cucaracha for you. Come on.
Okay, fine. But
If you think he gave you a stereotypical song,
Yeah, that was. By the way, if you didn't catch Lauren, that was Men at Work from Land Down Under.
Oh yeah.
The most stereotypical Australian song you can think of.
Now that's why I remember those lines.
I thought that sounded kind of familiar.
Yeah, it sounded too familiar. Well, then again, I haven't listened to that song in years, so I didn't.
I try not to bring it up too often when we're doing Kaiser, but I genuinely love that song. So
I've got the vinyl record. It's a great album.
Oh yeah. All right. And of course, we were supposed to have Amuya on the show, Brian, but unfortunately, well, this is a podcast that we've had a lot of obstacles, and we're recording this on a rescheduled date from what we originally planned, and unfortunately, Amuya could not be here today, and which is bad news for us. Terrible loss. We can't do the match game because of that. But just to give a little introduction, if you don't know who Amuya is, he does all kinds of nerdy reviews on movies, comic book things, and he's recently started uploading videos on his YouTube channel. Again, movie reviews mostly, like I said, but other stuff as well. And I'm going to be linking, if you're listening to this podcast on Internet Archives, possibly the link is going to be in the description for the file in the page. But if you're listening to this on YouTube, it's also going to be in the YouTube description. So please go to Brian's channel. The channel he's known by Amuya, but the channel is Brian Kersey. So please go subscribe to his channel and give him some love because the guy does excellent videos. So
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. All right. So today's topic, we're going to be talking about Disney TV cartoons, and we'll get to that momentarily. But we do have a cartoon connoisseur among us, which is T-McBee.
Yeah.
But
More cartoons and comics than animation, so completely different things. But they can still wrap up in the same. So
All right.
yeah.
All right. So first of all, there's Drex and George, which is your web comic, and it's been going on and off. You did upload something just recently. I think I saw. So yeah.
I can. Speaking of which, it would be 1 year old since I started that webcomic, like today.
All right.
So
Excellent.
it's like a 1 year anniversary, and eventually, like once I get after this recording, I'm probably going to post the next episode, the latest episode, because it's pretty much ready to go. I just have to upload it, and then by the time this podcast is available, it'll be available to check it out now.
Yes, exactly. And there's going to be a link to that as well. First year anniversary for your webcomic. That's much better than any of the webcomics I've ever made. So good job. Good job.
Yeah. It took a while, and let's just say it was an overwhelming mess at first. But then I think once I had things organized and things know what I'm doing before I start submitting it, it seems like it's much comfortable to have it now because I feel like I just didn't know what it like. It was just something I just put out, and I wasn't too sure what to make it at first. And yes, there was a lot of like re-edits and updates on previous episodes because I've noticed there was like some too much exposition on some things and not keeping it brief, and I felt like, and there were some spelling and grammar errors too, so I'm like, oh shit, I gotta go back to that.
Yeah.
So that was so I managed to find the time to put those all together, and now things are just going it's pretty much pretty standard, like it's pretty good, like, and now things are going to be more organized than ever rather than just jumping ahead.
All right.
So
nice.
And also, I am working on a new project. It's another comic series, though I'm not sure if I'm going to post it on Webtoon. I'm still deciding if I'm going to do it or not. But basically, it's going to be a comedy fantasy, and it's going to. So far, the project title is going to be Duck Wizard.
Oh yeah. I think I saw you post about this. Saw the picture of the duck. Yeah, that was really good, and I think I commented on one of the Drex and George comics. There was a duck character in one of those that I thought that. I thought that it looked really good, and I thought like, maybe you should do, maybe you should do a comic about a duck, about
actually
bird characters, and well, now you are, so there you go.
Ducks.
Yeah, actually, well, now that you said that, I know which episode you're talking about, but it was actually a griffin. She was supposed to be. Like,
oh, okay.
Yeah, she was supposed to be like a humanoid, not a humanoid, but like a hybrid griffin kind of character.
Nice.
So, but then I'm like, I don't have much bird characters, and birds can be really hard to draw too, so that's why I need to use extra references for those.
Oh, yeah.
So I thought to myself, you know what, maybe I should start doing like a different project, and technically it wasn't because of that inspiration and what you were saying. Actually, I was thinking this beforehand too.
All right.
So it was actually like inspired by like going by the pond near my house and seeing a bunch of ducks, and I'm thinking to myself, you know what, let's do like a concept with ducks, even though it's been overdone and too much. So
I don't think you can have too many ducks, honestly.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, everybody likes ducks, so it's. And you know what? And I'm working on some episodes lately. Kind of had some sketches done and scanned, and I could start right away, but we'll just see because there's other things that are just happening at the moment. So we'll see how it goes. And I think I'm starting to enjoy the project right now. So yeah.
Nice.
And then if those who follow me on Instagram and Tumblr, I just do doodles, and I've done like designs, like some fan art stuff, and what else? I did some like digital art designs for like YouTubers, and some of them reblogged and liked my stuff. So, and even one of them, even though it was a sketch, was actually appeared on their podcast. So that was kind of cool. So.
All right.
So it was nice to just do some little things here and there. So yeah, that's pretty much what I'm doing right now.
Yep.
I must say, I am very grateful for the Retrokaiser picture you've done for me. That is my official Twitter banner.
Aw, thanks. Even though it's a couple years old, and I could go back and do like a newer version. So yeah. But yeah, I do like, but it's what I always like doing. I always like to do like those kinds of stuff, and yeah, that's pretty much the end of my.
All right. Yes,
right
and
there.
I'll link to that, to all of that stuff, also, as I've already mentioned. Okay, and Kaiser, what have you been working on? You've been doing a lot of video reviews recently.
Yeah, I've been working myself to the bone, especially for Shoot 'em Up month, which is taking place in September, which is going to be one review for every day of September, all about the space, not necessarily space shooters, but of the shmup genre of video games.
Sounds like a lot of work.
Oh, it definitely is.
Is it gonna be all like new shmups, or like shmups across the ages, or?
It's just going to be stuff that's sort of been on my chopping block for a while now. It's just a quick and easy way to get them out of my schedule.
All right.
Right, yeah. There's some old stuff, there's some new stuff. Heck, there's even one by 3D Realms from back in the day.
Oh, okay. I didn't know 3D Realms did a shmup. Which one would that be? Or
Major Striker.
A what?
Major Striker.
Major Striker. Okay, interesting. Now, I haven't heard about that one. Okay.
Well, you can find out about that next month.
Yeah. All right. Yes, exactly. And also Retrokaiser, of course, you can find that on Retrokaiser's YouTube channel, and that'll be linked to as well. Okay, and
That and more.
that and more. Yes.
But
Yes.
not that much.
A what?
But not that much more.
Not that much.
Okay.
Yeah. And of course, Retrokaiser people probably know from my YouTube channel, of course. We do Let's Plays together a lot. We have a Let's Play series going right now, which is Gabriel Knight 3. And actually, it's the only Let's Play series going on right now, because people might have noticed that me and Darabka's Broken Sword, The Shadow of the Templars Let's Play series is currently on a bit of a hiatus. It will be returning, but it's currently we are unable to record new episodes, and that's the only reason. We have.
That's because Sean's been kidnapped by aliens at this point.
Okay. Yes, but those will eventually come back, and also just to say a little bit on my part, of course, the last White Devil podcast that we recorded, that was before the summer, so there's been quite a bit of a gap.
Oh.
And so what's basically happened in the meantime, of course, people have probably already know if they've watched my channel, is, of course, I had to move because of work-related reasons, and so I've had to move quite a far away from friends and family, and as a result, people are not going to be seeing as much of Minna and Ville on my Let's Plays as before, but I will be working on videos, just as always. I might have to, for the first time in a long while, though, I might have to change my upload schedule a little bit. It's not a big deal, really, but it's gone from the complete opposite, where I used to have way too many videos, which is why I would upload them like 3 times a week, to now there's not that many. So even if it's going to be like, I might even have to go down to like 1 video per week, which would still be okay. Like that would be like still pretty good. But it's like, so I mean, I'm having to work on new top 10s and maybe reviews possibly. But I kind of wanted to get back to the list video thing again, because I haven't actually done that many this year. At least I don't think I have. Maybe I'm remembering incorrectly. But yeah, I'm working on a new one right now. I think this podcast is going to go on YouTube before I actually get it done, because it's still quite a ways away. But yeah, so that's basically what's going on with me. So when I say that Minna and Ville, for instance, will not be featured in my Let's Plays that much, it means like we are not going to be starting any new long series with them. But there's a chance that they might be seen in like short little one-offs, and I've been doing some of those little one-offs by myself, and they weren't very good. I think the ones we did with Retrokaiser were much better. Which we did
especially that one-off when he's playing with his balls for 30 minutes.
We're talking about a Break-In, which is a pool video game for the TurboGrafx 16.
And not a burglar simulator.
Oh yeah, and we did. We did the. There was Mega Man for DOS, and we did Theme Hospital, which I think we could do another episode of one of these days as well. But yeah, right now we're preoccupied with Gabriel Knight, and we'll be doing more of that. Okay. And I think that does it for the introductions. We'll take a little break here, and then when we come back, we'll talk about Disney TV cartoons. Okay, so see you then. And welcome back, everybody. So now we're going to talk about the actual topic of today, which is Disney TV cartoons. I'm, of course, a child of the 90s, so obviously I grew up watching most of the same stuff that I think a lot of kids of my era watched. The thing to remember now, though, is that in my childhood, Disney Channel was not a thing. So I watched the shows that would get shown on major channels over here in Finland. But luckily we have people who maybe saw a little bit more than I did, and that's what I wanted to talk about today. But they are, of course, the Disney TV cartoons. They're kind of a big part of my childhood, or would you agree?
Oh,
yeah.
definitely. That was one of the first things I always saw after I finished school was always a Disney cartoon.
Yep.
Yeah, I would say, yeah, well, I'm a child from the 90s, born in the late 80s, so I grew up with a lot of these cartoons. And while some of them I know I may not go back to because they may have this outdated feel, or maybe I've grown out of it, there are some that still holds up. And you know what? At least Disney animation for TV shows is slowly coming back. And we've been getting some better, like, not better shows, but pretty good, solid shows airing right now. What
I
are
love
you
that
laughing?
correction. Not better, but you know.
Yeah,
What do you mean better than the shows that you used to watch?
well, not bad. Well, that's well, what I meant. Like, like what I meant is they're like good shows that you can actually watch from beginning to end. I think they're trying. Well, not beginning to. Well, yeah, I'm overthinking this, but basically
Okay.
what I'm saying is that you know how Disney with their animated shows they kind of make some decisions where like it can work and then sometimes it doesn't. So I feel like they're understanding that they're coming back to making some good quality shows, even though it has more of a current feel, but it's getting a lot of people's interest, like Gravity Falls. Like that's a good example. And then there's some other ones I've been hearing that people have been following, like Wander Over Yonder and Star versus the Forces of Evil. So there's those shows that I've seen people like liking a lot lately.
Yeah,
So yeah,
this is exactly why we have T-McBee on the show, because of the three that you mentioned, I've only watched one, so I'm kind of an old fart when it comes to Disney cartoons. So,
yeah.
I mean, and that's okay. I do want to talk about the shows that I watched as a kid. That's partly the reason I want to do this, but I do also want to talk about some of the show that I've watched at least a little bit of is Gravity Falls.
Yeah.
And another Disney show, which is kind of funny because over here it actually airs on Fox.
Oh,
Wrap your head
what?
around that, if you will. Is the new Pac-Man show, but I don't want to get there. Let's not go there quite yet. Firstly, I wanted to just ask both of you, what are your favorite Disney TV cartoons? And you can say a few of the shows if you can't pick like an absolute favorite. And so, which one wants to go first, T. McBee or Kaiser?
Kaiser.
Okay, Kaiser.
Oh, okay, I'll go first since my answer is most likely to be very short.
Okay.
But some of my favorite Disney cartoons, it's weird because I look back at a lot of them that I enjoyed as a kid. The problem is I probably won't, like, I probably will enjoy them as a grown-up, but they still won't be, my favorites as a grown-up. But some of the ones that I did enjoy as a kid that I still enjoy now is obviously DuckTales. That's still a great one to watch.
Yep.
Chip and Dale's Rescue Rangers.
Yep.
I really want to buy a box set of Darkwing Duck and watch that one again because I remember that one being really good.
Oh yeah.
And of course, one that'll forever be in my heart is the New Adventures of Winnie the Pooh.
Oh yeah, that's a cute one.
Yeah. Okay. And what about T. McBee?
Oh yeah, I feel like I have like just more than one. Like there's no way I can just pick one only. But
Yeah.
definitely, yeah, definitely DuckTales, Chip and Dale's Rescue Rangers is one that I enjoy a lot. And I can definitely like say Gravity Falls definitely because it's
Okay.
one,
Interesting. Yeah.
especially when it's the only Disney show I know that had an ending to finish off its series. So.
Ooh. Okay.
So and I don't know. Some of them kind of go back and forth because there are times where I like Gargoyles and Many Adventures of Winnie the Pooh and a few others. I also been liking Star versus the Forces of Evil, which is kind of like a magical girl like concept of this girl that's like this fish out of water character who goes to Earth and she's teamed up with a boy to fight off evil from her dimension. It's pretty funny. Like I highly recommend it, especially if you
Sounds
like
like a show I'd watch.
Yeah, except more for a family rated kind of series.
Yeah.
Hey,
So I'm just kidding.
Hey, not everything has to have tentacles in it, you know.
I wasn't thinking of that, but
How did we end up to here?
I don't know.
Excuse me. Excuse me. I think I got off on the wrong stop.
Okay.
Okay.
And then also, there's another show I've been trying to catch up lately. Is what I mentioned, Wander Over Yonder, which is basically it's really hard to say because it's like a sci-fi adventure show, but it's very cartoony. And it's basically like this traveler with a banjo named Wanderer, and he's just like this happy guy. And then he has his partner Sylvia, who's like a badass dragon horse. Like it's like she's cartoony, but she's tough. And then they're always trying to like either annoy their main villain, who's like named Lord Hater. And I swear to God, he's kind of like a mixture of Pete, Bowser, and maybe Skeletor, all combined into one. Because he's definitely one of those. Well, no, but he would be like, "No wonder I'm going to destroy you," blah 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 blah. Like he's like that kind of character. It's very cartoony, and and it's also very colorful and really well animated. And it finished the series this year with just 2 seasons. So if you haven't heard of this show, like go check it out. It's something to write about, but it's very colorful and it's just a fun adventure show.
All right. Yeah. And if I quickly say my favorite Disney shows, because I have a definite top 3 for me, which is again DuckTales, Chip and Dale's Rescue Rangers.
Yeah.
And for me, Goof Troop also makes the top 3, honestly. So we're seeing at least one running theme here.
Yep.
Okay, Chip and Dale's Rescue Rangers. I think we could talk about that a little bit because we all mentioned it.
Yeah, that's true.
And we've talked about it on the show before that I have an affinity for adventurous rodents, I think is the term that we've used before.
Yeah, you used it for sure.
I just like the idea of kind of do-gooder heroes, but who are so much tinier than the world around them, and that's kind of that both presents an obstacle for them, but also allows them to kind of operate, I guess, sort of in secrecy, and that's kind of the appeal of the show for me. As a kid, it was, and it still is. When I look back on the show, like one of my favorite episodes is Out to Launch, which is the episode where Chip and Dale accidentally get sent to space.
Oh yeah, I remember that one.
Like that's one of the episodes that really like shows the scales. What am I trying to say? The kind of challenge that characters of that stature would have to go through.
Yeah, it's basically like
it's not necessarily one of the best episodes from the writing perspective, but actually it is kind of, because friggin' Gadget makes a friggin' spaceship out of a trash can basically in that episode.
True. I remember.
A trash can and a plunger and some fireworks.
Yeah. Who knew? Who knew?
Yeah, Gadget's like a mini MacGyver, basically.
Nice.
What about Kaiser? What do you have any fond memories of Chip and Dale's Rescue Rangers to share?
Yes, I certainly do. I always found their mischievous adventures, the little guys in the big world, to be incredibly fun. I also found the villains to be just as interesting as the main characters themselves.
Even though Jim Cummings voices pretty much all of them.
Yeah. That's true.
Professor Nimnall and Fat Cat, the two most iconic bad guys on the show.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's kind of funny. What's also kind of funny for me is also Tress MacNeille, who was the voice of Gadget on that show, is also the voice of
Chip.
Well, Chip, yes, definitely. Though that's another thing, and because but also Babs Bunny on the
Tiny Toons.
Tiny Toons, yeah, which is Warner Brothers. So she was working both camps, if you will.
That's true.
Well, that's voice actors for you. But
voice actors, the ultimate double agents.
Yeah, and also she's pretty much like almost every other female voice on like Futurama, which is Fox. So it's like, it all comes around.
Yeah.
But it's actually funny because she usually does kind of I kind of think of Tress MacNeille. Well, she does have quite a bit of range, like she usually does, but she usually does either kind of goofy or I want to say like kind of not necessarily edgy, but sort of like grumpy old lady voices and things like that. So the fact that she's playing like Gadget, the most kind of genius but kind of outwardly innocent-looking character. That's always kind of funny to me to think about now in hindsight.
Yeah. That's pretty normal when you or find out that a voice actor does one character and another, and you're like, can I really picture them doing that and all that kind of stuff? Like it's kind of mind-boggling to some people or majority.
And the thing you gotta, and you already mentioned it, T-McBee, was the fact that she was also the voice of Gadget and Chip, and of course they're kind of a romantic couple. Like how does or a possible, let's put it that way, more possible, is like, how does that feel? You're also voicing your own potential love interest.
Yeah.
Dancing with myself, oh, dancing with myself, oh.
Let's change the subject.
Okay.
I mean, it's kind of like when you find out in Dragon Ball Z that the same voice actress is the voice of the girl that Gohan has a crush on and his little brother.
Oh.
Oh yeah, and also the thing that another example of things that surprised me is the Strong Bad cartoons. How it's all done by the
But how it's all one voice actor.
Yeah.
Shows they got talent.
Well, yeah, that's exactly like some voice actors are like extremely talented like that.
Well, I mean, look at like Trey Parker and Matt Stone. Like they do like almost every character on South Park. But of course they use like automatic stuff for the kids kids' voices, and then they use their normal voices for the adults. So yeah.
And it's and also about the voice cast, is kind of funny because Monterey Jack was of course voiced originally by Peter Cullen, who of course people will know as Optimus Prime, the voice of Optimus Prime. But it's funny. It's something that I only discovered just recently when I watched some of the later season episodes of Chip and Dale's Rescue Rangers. Is the fact that at some point Peter Cullen left the show, and take a wild guess who took his place.
Jim Cummings.
Jim Cummings doing an Australian accent.
Yeah.
It's like, dude, you're already like half the characters on the show. Like he's kind of slowly absorbing them all into his.
Well, dude, he's talented. What do you expect?
Yes, absolutely. Yes, Jim Cummings is by far, bar none, one of the most talented voice actors ever. But it's like really, really funny to think about like how already like half the characters on the show are already him, and now like Monterey Jack is also. So it's kind of. But it's just like I really love the voice. It's really funny. You don't really think about the fact that it's Peter Cullen doing that voice because obviously he's also very talented. And actually, that's the thing. Because we have a genuine Australian on the show. Of course, I have to ask. What did you think of Peter Cullen's Australian accent?
Just me.
It was all right.
Like you can tell the character is supposed to be Australian, but to an Australian, it just definitely sounds like they're acting Australian.
Yeah.
Well, that's a lot of American cartoons for you. They do their best to try to put a culture, but sometimes it can be like offensive or okay, this is okay, I guess.
All right. Well, speaking of more interesting episodes, I forget the title of the show, but do you know the episode where the Rescue Rangers trash this squirrel family's home on an assignment, and they end up being babysitters for their like two daughters? And then,
I remember. I just don't know the title, though.
Yeah, and the teenage daughter starts to get the hots for Chip.
Oh, yeah.
Which is like, this is the freaking, beware of the jailbait episode.
Speaking of shockingness about Chip and Dale, was anyone else ever shocked when they were grown up and realized that Chip and Dale is also a strip club?
Well, which came first, the chicken or the egg? It had to be Chip and Dale, the chipmunks first, but yet, no. Yeah, I try not to think about that too much. Yeah. Okay. But I think that was it's a thing that it has in common with, I think, DuckTales. And I think we have to move on to DuckTales at some point in this discussion. There's an interesting piece well, I didn't actually read this, but Minna actually read this to me. Was a little article discussing DuckTales and how that was we tend to think of it like Disney. People maybe have this image of Disney as this kind of wholesome family entertainment kind of dealio, if you will. But like what I think it was about DuckTales, but I think it applies to Chip and Dale too. Is that those were kind of cartoons when those shows started in the late '80s. Vast majority of American cartoons that were out at the time, I think this is not a big secret or anything. They were kind of like a veiled advertisement for toys a lot of the time, and in which DuckTales and Chip and Dale's Rescue Rangers were kind of a major deviation because they were not in that sense. They said the article said that DuckTales was a surprisingly honest show in a time when most cartoons were kind of trying to push toys or push people into buying toys. And I think that's also true of Chip and Dale's Rescue Rangers. Like it dealt with mostly kind of very close to home themes, even though it was kind of a slapsticky action adventure show a lot of the time. Do you feel that's true? Either?
Oh,
yeah.
I would mostly agree. Maybe their merchandising was very minimal for Disney because you have like the video games and stuff like that. So but it wasn't really like in your face. Like for example, something you would see, I guess from Nickelodeon with SpongeBob or Cartoon Network with the new Powerpuff Girls reboot. So like they're not like. At least, like, or even, like, back then, of course, yes, I agree, like, majority of the shows really use the toy market to get a show going, like He-Man and Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. But Disney barely had a lot of merchandising when their shows came out, like Gummy Bears and DuckTales and Tailspin and all that kind of stuff. Yeah. Like, you didn't see a lot of that at all, except maybe one or two things, and that's it.
Yeah, exactly. Although, then of course, I would probably have to point out that both DuckTales, which revolves around Scrooge McDuck, and then Chip and Dale's Rescue Ranger, which revolves around Chip and Dale, are all like well-established Disney characters.
That's true.
Maybe they didn't need the toy sales for because they were recognizable characters in their own right, I suppose. But I do agree with that assessment personally. Kaiser, were you about to say something?
I was going to just add on to the merchandising. Yeah, I definitely don't remember seeing a lot of merchandising from those Disney shows. At most, you'd see the occasional board game and the Happy Meal toy.
Yeah, maybe something to that nature. All right. So, should we move on to DuckTales then a little bit because we
well, he's saying woohoo, so I'll say woohoo on that too.
I know another funny thing I have to mention about both of those shows because those were both childhood shows of mine as well as Gummy Bears. But here's the funny thing: the network that they aired on over here, when they originally aired those programs, at the time it was the only commercial channel in Finland, and they were not that well funded, so they didn't dub any of those shows. They broadcast them in English with subtitles, and so I grew up watching both DuckTales and Chip and Dale in English with subtitles. Didn't understand a word anybody was saying, but I still watched them and I loved watching them. And it was really funny when then in the mid-90s, the network had gotten kind of big enough that they could hire people to actually come in and dub those shows. And it was weird. It was like the first experience I ever had where I just was completely put off by a dub of something because I was so used to hearing Scrooge McDuck, Alan Young as Scrooge McDuck, and then all of a sudden he was this different actor. And it was like really weird. It was just a weird experience.
How do you go? DuckTales, woohoo, in Finnish.
They didn't sing DuckTales. They sang Ankat, woohoo. And Ankat just means ducks in Finnish, so it's you can go check out the Finnish DuckTales theme on YouTube. I think it's there, and everybody keeps hearing the word Nazi in there at some point.
Whoa!
I don't think it's even close to what the guy is singing, but okay, but it's Whatever. I mean, the dub, there's nothing wrong with the dub. It sounds like I'm hating on it. There's nothing wrong with the Finnish dub. It's perfectly fine. But because I grew up watching it in English. Okay, but let's move on from that. Like DuckTales, I think more so than Chip and Dale's Rescue Rangers, I think was a really good show because it had really good writing and it incorporated elements of like the Duck universe that I think gelled really well with what was in the comics. And I actually just recently found out that Don Rosa, the comic book artist who wrote The Life and Times of Scrooge McDuck, which is the comic book series that places the life of Scrooge McDuck in real time against real events, he was also a writer on the show.
Oh.
So he wrote not like a staff writer, but an occasional writer on the show, and you can definitely tell because there were those few episodes that dealt with like Scrooge's past. But generally, like on the overall level, it was like in a really like a tier of its own, even as Disney cartoons go. Personally, okay, but I've talked enough. What about you? What fun memories do you have of DuckTales?
Well,
mainly
you could go first.
Okay.
Yeah, sorry.
Well, other than the show itself, I mainly remember that they actually showed the movie as a once-a-year special on Saturday mornings over here in Australia. In fact, they still do. They still air the original the DuckTales movie like on Saturdays here, like every once a year as a special thing.
I think that's when I heard the Finnish dub for DuckTales for the first time was the movie. It was on VHS. Okay, I don't know why I'm going yo. You keep going. That's what I was trying to say.
Yeah.
But the thing that I always got such memories about is just how colourful and full of personalities the character were. I mean, look at Scrooge McDuck. He's like a grumpy rich Scotsman, but he has so much character you can't help but to love him. And of course, me growing up with like some of the old Disney tunes, me recognizing Dewey, Louie, and Huey, it just also drew me in. It's like I recognize those characters. But the thing that always upsets me about watching DuckTales was, where's Donald? I don't see Donald.
Yeah, that kind of bugged me, and I think I kind of found this out on a video on Channel Frederator when they talked about like 107 facts about DuckTales, and they said like the reason why Donald wasn't shown a lot in that series was that there was too much of him, and I'm like, what? That's kind of silly. Like that's BS in my opinion, but whatever. That's just happens. But at least we have the reboot coming next year, and by the looks of it, it looks like Donald might be shown more in that cartoon.
Well, yeah. I was about to. That is something that I wanted to talk to you guys about was the DuckTales remake. Before we get to that, the in-universe explanation on the show, of course, was that Donald was being called to the Navy, and so he leaves Huey, Dewey, and Louie with Scrooge. And he does make cameos. He does make the odd cameo in DuckTales as well.
Oh yeah, that I remember for sure.
Which is actually a few years ago. I finally did watch the episode where the first. I think it's Donald's first cameo episode, and that's the Egyptian one where there's this weird Egyptian cult.
Oh yeah.
Mistakes him for a deity. And it was on YouTube, and it was in the Finnish dub, and the Finnish voice for Donald was terrible. I could not terrible, like he sounded like a duck, but I could not understand a single word he was saying. Like he was slurring so badly that anything he said. It is a fine art. Yeah, but it is a fine art to do the Donald voice in a way that you can still like enunciate.
Oh yeah.
It was like bad. It was bad. It was terrible. I could not understand a single word. Like all the comments on the video were too like, how come I can't understand what Donald's saying?
And people thought like Donald in English was hard to understand.
Well,
it's not really.
It's not really. That's yeah. But clearly, like whatever voice actor they got for that dub wasn't up to the task. Okay. And of course, with DuckTales, there's also the video game for the NES that I happen to like a lot, and one of my favorite games for the Wii U still is DuckTales Remastered because they got the original voice actors for it, and it was really fun. It was really just great experiencing that. Of course, Alan Young just a little while ago passed away, so it was cool that he got to be still in part of that that process or that project.
Not to mention with all the voice acting and the animation updated on that game, it makes it feel like one of the greatest episodes that never was with DuckTales.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was great. It was awesome. And I think like that's when I think of like Disney cartoons on television, like that's kind of the gold standard. That's the one I always think of first. Probably is DuckTales, which is funny because because in subsequent viewings, I think my favorite show has become Goof Troop, but DuckTales was like kind of my first love. In a way, I will admit that as a child I was very taken by Gadget on Chip and Dale.
Oh, okay.
Okay, well let's talk about some of the other shows too. Kaiser, you mentioned Darkwing Duck, which weirdly enough also is part of the Duck universe, I guess, because Gizmo Duck also appeared on that show.
And Launchpad.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah, Launchpad, totally, of course. He's in the freaking intro. Let's get dangerous. Okay. Do you have any fun memories of Darkwing Duck?
Pretty much the same as I did for pretty much the same as I do for a lot of these Disney shows. I saw them after school, and of course, for the same reason, the colourful cast. But this one had like a more like interesting like Batman twist to it, because this was at the era where Batman was huge, like the Tim Burton Batman movie, and just seeing something like this, I was always close to calling him Duckman until I realized that it was like the Jason Alexander Duckman that existed at the time.
Oh yeah.
But it was fun. It was just him being sorry, it's a bit hard for me to remember because I haven't seen the show in ages, but it's still a great show. I was always a fan. Like there was like the opposite version of him, like the one that wore the yellow and the black that used bombs.
I think it's like Mega Duck.
Mega Duck. Okay.
Yeah.
Mega
it's like negative duck. So
Yeah. I got you.
Mega Duck.
Yeah.
Mega Duck. That sounds like a really good Megadeth tribute band, by the way.
Okay. Yeah, I was about to say too that it's been a long while since I saw this. This also aired on that same network that showed DuckTales and Chip and Dale's in my country, and it too aired completely undubbed. I think even after they started dubbing some of the other shows, this one didn't get a dub for whatever reason. And it's been so long that I barely remember any of the villains personally. So I have very, very, very hazy memories of this show. Didn't Darkwing have like a kind of a girlfriend who was sort of inspired possibly by the Bride of Frankenstein or something like that?
Somewhat, yeah.
Was she a witch or something?
She was, I forgot what she was. She was sort of like this, sort of like a Magica the Spell kind of character.
Oh, yeah.
Well, I guess you could say like a witch or type character.
Yeah, all right.
So, but it was like an on and off thing. Like, and also I have season 1 on DVD, and it doesn't really show an introduction because with the DVDs that come out in North America for a lot of these like 80s and 90s cartoons, they mismatch a lot of them, and you're like, am I right watching them in the right order? Like, what's going on? Like,
yeah. I think I know.
I hate it when shows do that.
Yeah.
I think I know what you're talking about because I think Minna bought one of the box sets for Chip and Dale's Rescue Rangers, and it's got like episodes from season 1 and 2 all kind of intertwined.
Oh, yeah.
So it's really confusing.
Yeah, I have those DVDs as well. Like North America. Well, I don't know if it's different. Oh, yeah. And it seems like the pilot episodes are in season 2 for Chip and Dale's, but some other ones aren't just in season 1. So yeah, I feel like Disney kind of did a bunch of screw ups for that kind of stuff. I don't know why, but well, whatever.
They
At least
taped a bunch of episodes. Yeah, they taped a bunch of episodes together. Like, I'm sure the kids won't notice.
I feel like the only one that might be in order is probably Tailspin. Like that's probably the only one.
Oh yeah, Tailspin.
Oh,
Yeah. I don't want to sing that. I don't want to listen to that intro because people who think that the DuckTales theme song is annoying, I think the Tailspin intro is pretty annoying.
Annoying.
Well, not annoying, but it's too catchy to the point where you're actually going to sing it.
I'm about to sing it right now. Yo, tailspin. Tailspin.
That's basically what it is. It's like, oh yeah.
Yeah. It's weird. I used to love Tailspin when I was a kid. I don't know if I would love it anymore. That was another one of the shows that I watched a lot. Hey, but Kaiser, you did mention New Adventures of Winnie the Pooh, and what about
Yes,
that
I
show?
did.
Yes. What about that show did you like?
The really innocent nature of Winnie the Pooh, like him just going, honey. It was always so charming to me as a kid, and it's still charming to me. So it's just a charming, simple process. Plus, I really like his friends. His friends really do add a lot to the show. Like Eeyore with his tail that always falls off, and he's constantly depressed.
Yeah.
Thankfully, not to the point of being suicidal. Although that sounds like a robot chicken skit waiting to happen.
Yeah.
I can probably picture that happening.
Yeah. Of course, even as a kid, it was always like making like Piglet. It's not Piglet. Ugh. I like Piglet, but like as a kid, Winnie the Pooh's name always made a chuckle because Pooh,
I mean, there's a Disney released as a promotional thing a little cookbook for Winnie the Pooh, and it's called Cooking with Pooh. It's a real book. You can find it.
Aw.
So it is an unfortunate thing from a branding point of view.
Yes.
But
Yeah.
anyway, going back to the show, I was always really a fan of like some of the characters I really liked was Rabbit and Owl.
Yes.
I just like the wise nature of Owl and like how Rabbit's always always in love with growing carrots. There's just a lot to that show. It's it's very simple, but there's a lot to the characters that keep you holding, and you just love the fun, playful, innocent nature of the characters. The video games, are pretty crappy though.
All right.
Oh yeah.
All right, T McBee, what about you? What do you think about these Winnie the Pooh?
I remember watching them as a kid, and for somebody who's not too hardcore, not like a big fan of Winnie the Pooh, I really enjoyed it, and it's definitely just like DuckTales being a timeless thing. The Many Adventures of Winnie the Pooh is a timeless classic TV show that I think a lot of people can go back to for sure.
The Many Adventures of Winnie the Pooh, that's the movie. TV show is New Adventures.
Oh, the New Adventures. Oh, whoops. Well, that's what I meant. The New Adventures.
Okay.
Sorry, my bad.
No,
But
just so people don't get
But
confused.
pretty much everybody gets. I guess everybody got what I was saying. My fault.
Yeah.
But anyways,
Now-
it was a good show. I don't remember too much, but I remember seeing some episodes just lately, maybe a few months ago. And some of them do hold up. It's a cute show that it's if you need something that's all warm and fuzzy and need to have a laid back show, this one I can definitely recommend. And also, I think we have to point out maybe one of the saddest episodes with Rabbit and that blue bird. I don't know if anybody remembers
I don't remember that one. So what happens in that?
Okay, well, basically, from what I can remember, it might be a bit hazy because it's really hard to find a good quality episode on this online. So, basically, a baby bird gets lost, and Rabbit finds this baby bird, and then Rabbit takes care of her. And the bird's name's Casey, I think, or it starts with a K. Somebody in the comments will probably correct me on that part. And then I feel like it has that more attachment theme going on of how, taking care of somebody, and then have that time where the bird has to go. And there is one woman, I don't remember 100%, but it did kind of make me upset a bit. So it's that whole saying goodbye kind of vibe. So, and it's really hard to explain because my memory's hazy on this part. So my apologies.
I think you did a good job with that.
But I feel like a lot of people who watch the show, who grew up with it and knows what I'm talking about, they know what I'm talking about.
Okay.
It's the one episode a lot of fans usually talk about.
All right.
Sorry. You need to cut those coughs out, by the way. I forgot to mute myself on those coughs, but anyway. How can I forget one of my favorite characters of the show? Boing, boing, boing.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Yep.
So, Ma
Everybody-
Tigger.
And
Okay.
the things about the Disney and the toy advertisement, I always wanted a Tigger toy. Like, I don't think it was until like the 2000s when they actually had like a Tigger toy that actually bounces on its tail.
Yeah.
And another fun memory I have is like one of the Winnie the Pooh movies, which I did watch when I was a bit older. Didn't hold up, but I did like the concept. Like Winnie the Pooh gets a letter from Christopher Robin, but it's all covered in honey. So because he was worried because Christopher Robin was gone, so he takes it to Al, and Al reads it and it says he's gone to Skull. So they go on like this big spelunking journey, and then it turns out they just misread it and he just went to school.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
I remember that one.
All right.
Yeah, I remember that one. Yeah.
But
All right. And hey, guess again, guess who was the voice of Tigger?
Well,
Take
was
a
it-
wild guess. It's Jim Cummings again.
yeah, but then Paul Winchell kind of voiced him in that show before he passed
You mean,
away.
I don't think on the show necessarily. Well, I might be. Again, this is where it gets weird because the new adventures of Winnie the Pooh. Now it aired over here, but it aired way after it was like being shown on American TV because that show started, I think, in the late 80s and maybe ended in the early 90s. And it was shown over here like either in the very, very late 90s or early 2000s. So really late. And so by then it was being dubbed. So I'm not sure. But I assume that Jim Cummings was the voice of Tigger on that TV show. But the voice actor who was before him, was that the one who was also in the first movie?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. Then I know. Then yes, that was the. He was also Gargamel, and
Really?
I think I remember him mostly from Gargamel because I watched a lot of Smurfs as a kid, and again it was the non-dubbed version. So yeah, I instantly recognized that voice. All right, and I just wanna like if we're gonna cap off on New Adventures of Winnie the Pooh. I want to cap it off at least because in a way that, well, I wasn't. It was being shown that late after it had like originally aired, and I've never been a big fan of Winnie the Pooh. I'm just gonna be honest right now. I just don't like the characters or the you know or the whole thing. Eeyore I kind of like. I do have to admit Eeyore is very sympathetic, and so but. I will say one positive thing about it, and even when it was being aired here, dubbed, and sorry, by the way, I don't like Rabbit that much either, but that was only because he was voiced by one of my least favorite voice actors ever in the Finnish dub. But the theme song I did love. I think the New Adventures of Winnie the Pooh theme song is one of the best cartoon theme songs ever made. So yeah, and it was excellent in the Finnish dub as well. So I remember it, even though I did not watch it actively. I did catch it with my ear every once in a great while, and every time that was the one part of the show I did like, and then I did not watch the rest of it. I know that sounds weird, doesn't it? Okay.
To each their own, I guess.
You mentioned Gravity Falls already, so I don't know if we want to tread back too much on Gravity Falls, because I've watched that show, but I've watched I think mostly season 1 and 2. How many seasons of the show are there?
There's just only 2 seasons.
Only 2 seasons. Okay, so I think I've only seen for the first season episodes, and from what I've seen, I really like it too. I like the characters are really nice. Dip and Mabel are, I think, some of the most likable child characters I've seen in a long while in any cartoon. But I like the fact that there's a element of peril. That's the thing about DuckTales too. There always felt like there was a genuine sense of peril, even though it was a Disney show. And I think that's what it has in common with Gravity Falls as well.
Yeah.
In fact, I think DuckTales gave me a lot of anxiety as a child because of.
Oh, really?
Well, I mean, there were a few 2-parter episodes, I think. And as a child, I used to hate those because if the episode ended up like on a cliffhanger, then if I did not see the finale of it, that always bothered me immensely. Okay, no one in. Oh, Kaiser just left nice little comment here that is, no one in Disney films die, they only get nasty boo-boos. Yeah, tell that to Scar.
Yeah.
But that's a reference to George of the Jungle, which was like, don't worry, nobody ever dies in this movie. They just get really big boo-boos.
Yeah.
That was from George of the Jungle. Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
Sadly, I was still talking about Gravity Falls.
Yep.
Sure. Do you have something to add?
Sadly, I have not seen any full episodes of the show, but I really do like the character designs. I think they're cute as a button, especially the little girl in the green sweater with the braces. I just think, oh.
Yeah, that's Mabel.
Oh, Mabel. Yeah.
That's Mabel, yeah. Yeah. And also, I think I gotta catch up on that show one of these days because Minna also loved that show. Actually, she's the one who got me into it a little bit. But unfortunately, it does not air on the major channels. That airs nowadays. Disney Channel is a thing in Finland, so it airs on the Disney Channel. I haven't been able to watch it because of that, because it's a paid channel over here. But if I get the chance, I will definitely watch the second season as well. So I'll leave that up. Can I get any comments from you guys on GoofTube, or am I alone in liking that show as much as I do?
Sadly,
you can go first. Yeah.
I do remember the characters. Sadly, I do not remember any plots of the episodes. Sorry, but I did like the character designs back then. I remember liking it.
I think you've moaned about this to me before, how you can't remember any of the individual episodes of a Disney cartoon.
That's true. Disney cartoons have got really great theme songs, but for some reason I cannot remember any plots of a lot of the episodes.
I remember a lot. One that I watched because it was on. I had it on VHS. I watched a lot was the fact when Max and PJ basically become like cops. Well, not cops, but they become whatever it is. They joined the organization in their school that is supposed to cut down on bullying and things. And it turns basically into a cop show from there on out. And they're trying to figure out who is in command of a pair of these bullies who keep shaking down kids for change. And there's like a big conspiracy, and there's like Mr. Big who's behind it all. It's a great episode. Too bad I can't remember the name of it, but that's one of the great ones. And it's a show that I appreciate more and more just because of the kind of domestic themes that it had in regards to Goofy being a single parent and all those other things. I mean, it's also got, of course, because it's Goofy, it's got it's got a lot of slapstick comedy and craziness, and I think that's kind of what most people assume that show is all about. And then there's Pete, who always has his schemes, trying to exploit. He's a used car salesman. Well, no, not a used car salesman. He has a dealership, and the character dynamic there is great, and it was then they even brought it into a whole new level with the Goofy movie, which I think was an amazing character piece movie. I think this is one of the most underappreciated Disney films of all time because of that. Just because it's not like an official Disney movie. Well, it was made by one of their lesser studios. Okay, but no love for Goof Troop.
I would say it's just a standard show. Like, I know there might be some like 90s hip thing that might be a little outdated, but like for the most part, I think I feel like for like a domestic setting, it's standard. Like it's average, like in my opinion.
Oh boy.
Let's
move on to another topic. I also wanted to ask you guys what your least favorite Disney shows were, if you have such a thing as a least favorite show.
Oh, there's a couple.
Okay, go ahead if you have a couple.
Okay, well, first, these are kind of like shows I used to watch, but then, well, except for one of them. That's a recent one. But the two of them I used to like, but now when I look back at it, I can't go back to them anymore, is Bonkers and Quack Pack. I can't go back with those shows anymore. I just can't. Well,
isn't that like taking stabs at both of us because Kaiser likes Bonkers and I like Quack Pack.
Really? Well,
Oh
Okay,
no,
but go
it's the
ahead.
Sonic the- it's the Sonic the Hedgehog problem.
Let's hear you out.
Yeah.
Let's hear you out. What's the main thing you don't like about the
well,
shows?
I guess the idea. Well, I know with Bonkers, like I get the idea of like having like this like cartoony like aesthetic characters, interacting with these restrained human characters, but it's just Who Framed Roger Rabbit. It's just all cartoon, and some things just seems a little too wacky now that I watch it again now that I'm older.
That's kind of funny. You should say that because that's what Bonkers was originally supposed to be. It was supposed to be a series based off Who Framed Roger Rabbit, but because Who Framed Roger Rabbit was this big collaborative movie, like Disney, Warner Brothers, and Amblin, the Steven Spielberg company, they were all involved in it. And then the character Roger Rabbit is then owned by the guy who wrote the novel that the movie's based on.
Yeah.
Because it was too complicated to get the rights to make that show, they created an original character, and that became Bonkers.
Yeah, and I don't know, I can't really handle Bonkers' voice. Like, I know he's voiced by Jim Cummings. I appreciate the guy, but this was
He is. You're absolutely right. I forgot about it. But now that you said it, you're absolutely right.
It was a little too much. It was just a little too much. Like, I think kids will probably like it, but like going back to it, like now that I'm like in my late 20s, I'm like, no, I don't know if I could go back to it. And as for Quack Pack, I kind of went back to that show, like, I haven't seen it in years, and I've heard some people didn't really like it that much, so I'm like, okay, let's see how this show is, like, and I watched a couple of episodes, and I'm like, I'm not really a big fan of this show now than I used to be, because there's sort of this cringe-worthy attitude that I'm not really a fan of with these characters, and I hate to say this, Huey, Dewey, and Louie, as teenagers, I'm sorry, they're just duck versions of the Home Improvement kids. I'm sorry. I'm sure they're inspired by that.
Yeah.
But I'm like, no. But I don't know. I feel like it was kind of trying to be like Goof Troops, but kind of pushing the extreme and trying to be funny. But some jokes didn't just work for me. And then the next, so that's basically that for Quack Pack. And then the next show, which is a current show, and I think a lot of people will agree on me on this one, though I'm sure there's a minority that likes it. It's Pickle and Peanut. I just watched some clips or some episodes of it, and I just say to myself, how is this Disney? Like, even when you look at this show, it's like, I feel like it looks too much like something that would be for like Nickelodeon or Cartoon Network, but Disney, like, I don't really picture it. So, not a big fan of that show, but I'm sure maybe some people like it. And it's a little too trendy too, like too hip and stuff, like too bro. Like, I don't know.
I had not heard of Pickle and Peanut, but I had to look up a little bit. Yeah, this looks weird. This looks weird.
Oh, great. It can't be any worse than the high fructose adventures of the annoying orange, can it?
I've seen shows like this. I think I know the kind of style it's coming from. All right. Can I just say quickly on Quack Pack? Quack Pack was the last Disney cartoon that I actively followed as a kid. Then I kind of went off Disney shows for a while. I just did not actively watch them, mainly because they weren't shows that interested me, and also it was around that time when they started moving to the Disney Channel. That was another thing. But the thing, like, I like Quack Pack. I don't like it as much as DuckTales, and it's definitely a lower tier of cartoon. It's a cartoon sitcom. Is basically what it is. And you gotta take it like that. It is definitely a lower tier of that. But in some of the episodes, I felt were cringeworthy. But then there's some I kind of like some of the design choices. I kind of like that Huey, Dewey, and Louie they're not just Huey, Dewey, and Louie, Tweedledee and Tweedledum, except with a third one. So
that's okay. Like, I could see where you're coming from.
So
at least
it's not a great show. I'm just saying it's not a great show, but I still liked it. I enjoyed it. I found it funny. So that's all. That's my only defense for Quack Pack.
Okay.
Yes, there are a lot of people who will agree with you that it's not a very good show. Okay, I just wanted to say that a little bit. Okay.
That's fine.
Okay.
What about Kaiser?
Kaiser, do you want to say anything in Bunker's defense? Because I have not watched that show in long enough. It's been too long since I last watched the show for me to make a credible defense for it.
I remember liking it because it was Who Framed Roger Rabbit.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I don't know. Maybe it's a little too. Maybe just because with Bonkers and Quack Pack, it's a little too over the top at times, and sometimes it can be a bit too sloppy. Like with the way like they finish an episode from beginning to end in some cases. So that's just my only That's like one major another nitpick I have with those two shows.
Yeah,
I feel
and
like
I think with Quack Pack, definitely it was also. I will admit that it was a Duck Universe show, but one without any rules. So it was like there was no suspension of disbelief with anything. Like there was an episode where all of a sudden Huey, Dewey, and Louie were superheroes, and stuff like that would happen. Well, one of my favorite episodes was the one where Donald started to become younger.
Oh yeah. Okay, that I kind of like.
And yes, because it got to the point at the end where they're trying to, because they lose him and they try to find him, and little toddler Donald shows up and right under their beaks, and they don't notice him. And then it goes so far, Donald actually becomes an egg at one point. So it goes really down to the line before they turn. Did they have like the inventor duck on that episode?
Oh, Professor Von Drake.
Yes, exactly, him. So you know, it was they did include like some genuine Duck Universe elements in it as well.
Yeah, but then they also have human characters too, which that was the part that kind of jarred me a bit. And
I gotta say, I liked Daisy Duck's redesign in that show. I kind of wish they would bring it back, but oh well. Okay. Kaiser, what about you? What Disney shows were you not a fan of?
Well, the weird thing with Disney shows is I don't really hate any Disney show. I just more of really don't care for them. Okay. But one of the shows is the Adventures of Buzz Lightyear.
Oh yeah.
The one that they did, which it's a show within a movie, which is like the adventure.
Well, it's the show that's based on the lore of the Buzz Lightyear doll in the movie Toy Story. So where he actually is a space ranger, and there is a whole squad of space rangers, and there's the bad guy. I don't remember his name, but he shows up in Toy Story.
Zurg.
Yeah, exactly. And you didn't like that show. What was wrong with it?
It just didn't have the same charisma or charm as Buzz Lightyear in Toy Story did. It just felt like a little bit too dark and serious for me.
All right. Okay.
I don't hate it, just didn't settle right with me.
Okay.
It's just when I see Buzz Lightyear, I expect, aha, I'm the cocky space hero. Woohoo! I make him sound like to be Mario, but that's not the case.
Okay, let me ask just a broad question from everybody. What was your opinion of Little Mermaid, the TV show?
Just like okay, not as exciting as Aladdin, the TV series.
This is another show I distinctly remember watching, but I remember next to nothing about it. And considering like the older I've gotten, the less I like the movie The Little Mermaid.
Oh, no.
And so now I think like if I was to watch the show, like I already think that the idea of the show is completely redundant. But I don't remember. I remember watching the show. I even remember little bits and bobs, some of the incidental characters. I don't remember if I actually even liked it. I just kind of watched it because it was a show that was on TV, and that's the only reason.
Yeah. Okay. Now to think about it, I'll add that as my least favorite because I barely remembered any of that, and I guess I just watched it because I was probably waiting for the next show to start on or something.
Yeah. I agree that the Aladdin. I actually liked the Aladdin TV show. I thought it was I thought it was a good spin-off from the extended pilot of it, which is known as the movie Return of Jafar, was not good. It was awful. The animation quality was worse than what it was actually. The TV show animation was better than in Return of Jafar. So it's kind of it was way.
Well, it was from Disney Toon, so of course their budget is lower in animation compared to like the actual Disney.
I think if you're trying to make, because it clearly is supposed to be a pilot because Abysmal appears for the first time in that and everything.
Yeah.
You think if they were going to make a pilot, they would put all the effort in the world into it, and it kind of looks like they didn't.
Yeah, I guess maybe since it was like one of the first fewer Disney animated sequels that came out, like in terms of marking so much on like the Disney properties. I know there was a sequel before with Disney's Rescuers Down Under, and but that had a higher budget.
Yeah, but that was theatrical. Yeah, that was a theatrical movie
of course.
And everything.
Yeah, so this is a completely different scenario. So of course they probably have to cut corners, unfortunately, for Return of Jafar. So.
And Aladdin, I liked Aladdin a lot, the TV show. I thought Abysmal was kind of a funny character as a recurring villain, even though he was completely incompetent and everything. And I remember there was a female genie. That was kind of interesting. Then there was, and we talked with Kaiser about this before this podcast on another occasion. I was talking about this episode about this evil king whose head had been separated from his body, and his body was ruling his kingdom. And what ends up happening in that episode is that Aladdin's head and body get removed, and Aladdin's body is like super emotional, feely good and nice, and his head kind of becomes cold and heartless. I suppose that was the idea because his heart is in the other part.
I remember that.
Yeah, it was a very inventive show. So, but I do have to say, like generally speaking, I'm not a big fan of the shows that spun off like as direct spin-offs from Disney movies. Like I never watched the Hercules cartoon when it was new, but I saw it on reruns. I think I've caught a few episodes of it on reruns on the Disney Channel, and I'm thinking like that was unnecessary. That didn't need to be a show.
Oh yeah, I remember that too. Yeah, I kind of skipped that too. There was actually a lot of Disney shows that were based on their movie ideas, and then it made it to a TV show. And yeah, I'll agree. The Hercules one was pretty forgettable. They also did one for Atlantis, and I think that was pretty forgettable too. So
they made one on Atlantis. That's
I think so.
I know there's a straight to video sequel. I don't know.
Okay, maybe it's that my fault. So
because I think that the idea was that it was eventually going to spin off into a TV show, but I suppose it never did.
Oh yeah,
I'm not 100% sure on that though. So
yeah, that's fine.
Do not quote on me on that.
Yeah,
but going back to some of these Disney cartoons, while some of these cartoons weren't as enjoyable as what the movies they were based on, I remember reading the Disney comic books based on some of these cartoons, and some of them were pretty funny.
Okay.
I remember reading a Hercules one back when I was like 7 or 8, and one of the things, I think it was Icarus, went up to Hercules and is like, "Hey, I've got 2 tickets to see the Rolling Stones. Want to come with me?" And there's like, "Sure." So they like break out of school, and all it is just like these giant ogre creatures just rolling stones around.
Wow, I was waiting with anticipation. What the hell was this gonna lead to? Or like if they were really implying that the Rolling Stones are, that ancient. Okay. Hey, but talking about my least favorite, I'm kind of with Kaiser on that. I have a hard time picking a show that I would actually really dislike. And like I said, The Little Mermaid, probably I wouldn't be that much of a fan if I saw it now, but I don't really remember it. Now this one, it almost pains me to admit that I thought this was a terrible show, because as a kid, well, I was never like the biggest Lion King fan, unlike my sister Minna, who was obsessed with that movie. And when I say obsessed, I mean she would watch it like 3 times a day, obsessed.
Oh, wow.
But I did like the characters Timon and Pumbaa. Like, they were hands down my favorite characters from The Lion King. And I remember, as a kid, having the thought, man, Timon and Pumbaa should have their own show. And then they did. And I was super excited when I heard that they were going to start airing it in the late 90s. And I watched it. And then almost immediately when I was watching it, I had this creeping feeling, this is not quite what I had in mind. I kept watching it. I kept watching it over and over again. And occasionally I enjoyed it, but a lot of times it was like I'm not really a fan of this. And now, after years later, years on, I can finally say with confidence, Timon and Pumbaa was probably the single worst Disney TV cartoon show I ever watched.
Oh, wow.
It was terrible.
Oh.
And the thing,
Oh, yeah.
okay, I admit that maybe I
Totally
had the wrong kind of expectations for it. The thing that just rubbed me the wrong way about it was that it, I think, destroyed the Lion King lore by having Timon and Pumbaa just non-casually use human technology and human things.
Yeah.
So they took it completely out of the savannah and just made a complete crazy cartoon show about it. And it was like it had the weirdest. It had like it has a little bit of the same problem as Quackpack, I think, is that there were no rules. So
yeah, I think now that you mentioned that, I totally forgot about Timon and Pumbaa, like
Yeah.
the TV show. Like, and I used to watch that a lot too as a kid.
They
And now
even
that
had Hakuna Matata as the theme song, which hurts even more now that I think about it.
oh yeah, no worries, my ass.
Because there's one episode that had like Timon on trial for doing like breaking some like trivial law of like the savannah or something, and there's these vultures, and there's a trial, and in the end they find him guilty, and it turns out his punishment, and he's like really worried as the trial goes on, and then it turns out like the punishment is just a slap on the wrist. Like a literal slap on the wrist. And he's like, wait, that's it? And we went through this whole song and dance for this, and then like, oh man, like, well, that was stupid. And then he goes, and then he non-casually breaks another law, and even though Pumbaa says like, you can't do that, that's like that's forbidden, and like, oh please, what's the worst thing that could happen? And then the episode ends on him being like lowered into like a steaming pot by the vultures. And also Pumbaa is there, and he has the most sinister smile, and like he's enjoying seeing his friend being lowered into a soup pot.
Oh my god, I think I remember that. Holy Jesus! Now that you explain it, I'm like, why?
Yeah, why? I don't know. It's like I said, maybe I had the wrong kind of expectations, but come on, who thought that was a good idea to make the show like that? I just feel like. Yes, I was excited that Timon and Pumbaa got their own show, but it was like the wrong kind of show.
Yeah, it was like a very random, annoying humor kind of show.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's the problem with a lot of mid-90s shows from Disney. Like, they seemed like they were just gonna throw a bunch of stuff and make sure if it happened or not. And you can kind of see that.
I think it was just the style of the age, wasn't it? That they're doing a zany kind of show where you kind of throw logic out the window and just throw random stuff at the characters.
Pretty much, yeah.
Yeah, maybe that was just it, and Disney felt the pressure to make that kind of show. I don't know, maybe.
Yeah,
I mean,
personally, what I would have wanted from the Timon and Pumbaa show is like them hanging out with Simba, just training him as he grows up. But we eventually got that as Lion King 3 or Lion King 1.5.
Oh yeah.
That's true.
That's what I sort of expected from a Timon and Pumbaa TV series.
Yeah, and I enjoyed that a lot, actually. Much more than Lion King 2, actually. Well, let's not get into that. Let's get into that. That's an opinion splitter.
Yeah.
No, I'm just saying that I put Lion King 2 on my bottom 10 Disney movies list once, and Zookstar wrote a very, very thoughtful but a very extensive retort to my comments, which I like. It's nice when somebody writes a well-meaning, well-thought-out argument instead of saying, "Oh, you put Lion King 2 on your bottom 10, fuck you."
What, they're all got Brooklyn accents now?
I just had to get into that accent to get that fuck you out of there. No, but I think what is really telling of the quality of the show is that I think my favorite episode, because it was like segmented, so there were like 2 segments per episode. So it was like shorter segments, and then they made like maybe a half-hour or 20-minute show. I don't quite remember. But I think what's really telling of the quality of the show is that my favorite segment of Timon and Pumbaa did not even have Timon and Pumbaa in it. My favorite was this one short bit with Zazu from The Lion King. And it was the bit where he was ordered to count all the animals on the savannah. and he gets into trouble because his calculations are off by 1. And so he goes over and he counts all the animals again, and he can't get it right. And then finally, Rafiki shows up. If you don't know the characters, Zazu is the bird from the movie.
Yeah, I know.
Oh yeah, and no, I'm just saying to the listeners. And Rafiki is the witch doctor baboon.
Yeah.
And so he decides that he's going to help Zazu out, and so he brings Zazu to this pond, and he says, "You forgot him." And Zazu looks into the pond and says, "Simba?" And then Rafiki takes him and says, "Oh, sorry, wrong pond." And he takes it to another pond, and then it shows, of course, Zazu's own reflection. But I love that joke of him in the pond seeing Simba, because, it's the same pond as from the movie Lion King, where his dad,
Mufasa,
I almost said Mustafa, I meant Mufasa. Sorry about that.
Oh, boy.
But yeah, that was my favorite. That was my single favorite thing of anything in Timon and Pumbaa's show. And like, other than that, it was like, it was like the worst betrayal I felt during my childhood from a cartoon show.
Yeah.
Oh, my biggest complaint about that show is, how are the hyenas still alive?
Yeah, because they died in the movie.
I thought they just left. So, like, after they ate Scar.
I don't remember if they did, but you remember them having cameos in the show.
Yeah, I remember some.
Oh man,
Yeah.
I don't even remember it that well anymore. I remember that Zazu bit. That was the one good thing I took away from the Timon and Pumbaa show.
Okay. Yeah. Oh man, I guess we talked a lot about Timon and Pumbaa.
Yeah,
I think there's other shows we can briefly discuss if we have any.
Okay, yeah, I have one that I want to talk about. What about you two? Any more shows you want to talk about?
Briefly, but yeah, I do have some in mind. So.
Yep, go ahead.
Since not everybody we barely talk about shows about the 2000s, even though like we probably didn't watch too much like Disney shows that aired in the 2000s, probably because like it was.
Oh, there was one, Kaiser. Wasn't there Brandy and Mr. Whiskers? That was the one you wanted to talk about. Yeah. What about you?
That one. For me. There was actually a few. There was also Dave the Barbarian, House of Mouse.
I've seen one episode of House of Mouse. I watched the episode with Max and Roxanne in it.
Oh yeah.
because I'm such a huge Goop Troop fan. Yeah. And also, I felt really betrayed because Roxanne was not in the sequel to a Goofy movie, which is extremely Goofy movie.
Oh yeah, that. Yeah.
And that was a good episode. I liked it. I liked it a lot.
It was a cute episode. Now that I remember it, and I remember watching House of Mouse a lot. Like, used to liking the concept of it, of like Mickey and the gang like hosting their nightclub, and it kind of sort of had this Muppets feel where there's like the backstage things happening and then like the real shows and entertainment that was happening.
And then the movie characters making cameos.
Yeah, like it was a fun idea, but I feel like it's like, of course, when I go back to it now, like I see it as an alright show, like sort of like how I see with Goof Troops, how it's just like it's standard, like it's still solid, but it's just something I probably would not watch all the time. And there's actually a few shows that I've done that a few times. Not only like shows from the 2000s, but also some shows that came out today. Like, I mentioned Dave the Barbarian. Like that's usually a show a lot of people would criticize because the art style is very it has like this crude art style. But it's actually a pretty random, hilarious show, and I think it's aware it's hilarious. So, and it's just like a bunch of like mythical like characters. Like you have a barbarian warrior with like a warlock and a princess. They like they take over like their parents like I guess their parents' castle for a few days until like a lot of crazy stuff happens, and it's just a random show. But I feel like it complements the style pretty well. So
I never watched Dave the Barbarian, but I do remember it, and the art style. Is it too far off to say it's kind of like the Hanna-Barbera animation style of the 90s with the crazy kind of over-exaggerated anatomies for a lot? Or is there another show that's more closer?
Kinda, not really. I feel like it sort of has its own thing.
Okay, then forget what I said.
Okay. No, it's not like, but the style.
But I do vaguely remember the show. I don't think I ever watched it properly, but I do know it was a show.
Yeah, yeah, and of course, like, what other shows there was? There was Kim Possible. Everybody liked. I watched bits of that.
Oh,
Kaiser likes Kim Possible.
I
Yeah.
like Kim Possible.
Yeah, I know a lot of people do. And I kind of liked it too when it was airing. I just didn't watch it a lot, very often. And then same thing with like Recess was also one of those on and off shows I would watch and say it's all right. And when I'm okay with it, Gargoyles I used to love, even though that's more of a '90s show. But I feel like the only like 1 or 2 seasons are only good, and then the third season was crap. So
I missed the boat completely on Gargoyles because it wasn't being aired over here. So yeah.
Yeah, but that's okay. I'm sure you can find it online or something. So there's no big worry for that. And also, there's actually one modern show. I know I talked about a lot of the modern Disney shows. Like I know I talked about Gravity Falls, Star versus Forces Evil, versus the Forces Evil, and Wander Over Yonder. There's another show I mentioned, and it kind of got a little bit hated because it's supposed to be the Seven Dwarfs, like from Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, having their own TV show, and it's called the 7D. And I think a lot of people did not like it that much because of its contemporary art style. And it's not something to write home about, but it's a fun, entertaining show. And it makes like the characters have personality, and it's a completely different setting. So it's not like them being with Snow White. It's actually them in a town and helping this queen, more of this queen and her duties. And then they also have like villains that kind of like wreck the place and want to take over the queen's castle. So it's a fun little show, and it's also the people that made I guess the one that made this show is also the same guy that did like Tiny Toons Adventures and Animaniacs. So it's a fun little show, and there's a lot of recognizable voice actors in that one. Like you would tell like
what was that show called?
7D. So just 7 and D.
7D. Okay.
Just right, like the number 7 and just the letter D.
Okay. All right. Interesting. So what about Kaiser? You have any thoughts on those shows or others from the more contemporary ones?
Due to the late night, I've forgotten a bunch of shows that she mentioned, which I'm going to feel bad listening back to this podcast because I'm sure there's a bunch. But some shows I wouldn't mind touching.
What about you? Did you watch Brandy and Mr. Whiskers? Because I
did. I watched a little bit of it back in the day.
Same here.
It was okay. It had like sort of like that. It was sort of like Gilligan's Island mixed with Cow and Chicken, so sort of like that random human, but we're like trapped on an island.
Well, yeah, because Mr. Whiskers was voiced by the guy who did all the voices on Cow and Chicken.
Oh yeah.
It definitely felt like a very 90s show when I watched it.
Yeah.
Interesting.
But I completely forgot about 7D. The commercials really turned me off of that show, so I never watched it.
Okay, but did you watch Kim Possible?
Yes, I did.
Yes? You want to talk about it?
I thought it was an alright show. I liked the spy sort of portion of it. They could do a lot with that one. You can do a lot with that. I thought the episode stories were very fun. One show I couldn't get into back in the day was American Dragon, Jake Long.
Oh, yeah, I remember that one. Yeah, that was another show I couldn't get into. I guess maybe it was a little too hip for my taste. So.
And
I loved.
Yep, sure.
Sorry, I loved Recess back in the day. Thought that one was a really fun show.
Yeah.
Although I could not relate to any of those kids, though. It's like their recesses felt more like these huge blown out. It felt more like. I guess sort of a comparison is Rugrats. Instead of like Adventures of Toddlers, it's like Adventures of Kids during recess.
Yeah.
And
it was pretty and like their recesses were like, there's no way you can do this in recess. Like you couldn't have like the king of I don't know the 6th grader or the 4th grader taking over this one jungle gym, or having like 2 characters that dig holes and whatsoever. So
definitely.
You can't do that. Or kindergartners being like savage, like wild characters. So yeah, it was really imaginative, more of that idea. But I think it still had some restraints too. Like, try to not make it too exaggerated with its ideas. So, yeah.
All right.
And does anyone remember the 1990s cartoon based on the Mighty Ducks?
Yes, I remember, and I thought it was meh. I was like, I didn't get it.
I did not watch the show. We had a discussion about this, and I caught a little glimpse because Kaiser sent me the link of the pilot movie. And the main thing that came to mind is that, man, this voice cast is way too talented for this show because it's got freaking Jeff Bennett, Tony J, Tim Curry. I think Paul Robson's in there as well. Jim Cummings, obviously. Like it's and Jim Belushi.
Really? What?
Yes.
But I thought
John Belushi is the one that died. Jim Belushi's brother.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Oh, right.
Don't get them confused.
Yeah, I'm sorry. All those Belushi fans. I'm sorry.
Yeah. But a show about crime-fighting, hockey-playing ducks. So.
Yeah, I rewatched the pilot episode today and looking back at it, because I remember having some really fun memories of it, even though my memories of it is really weird because, like, normally Disney shows air like 7:30, 7 o'clock in the morning. In Australia, this show aired at like 5:30 in the morning.
Yeah.
I was just like, why?
Yeah, I don't know why.
Back and watch,
we had something similar over here. We had something similar over here in the mid-90s. I don't know for whatever reason, but there were a couple of these, the commercial channels, they aired like the Marvel cartoons, like Fantastic Four and the Incredible Hulk in the middle of the night when nobody was watching. And it's I don't know if they were just like testing out some broadcasting technique or whatever. It was like weird, like there's programs in the middle of the night. Like who the hell's gonna watch that?
Yeah, no, I see that happening even to this day. Like, I know I'm going a little bit off topic, but Nickelodeon plays like their older cartoons like in the middle of the night, like more like 3 a.m., 5 a.m. and I'm thinking to myself.
The only way, unless you are unemployed, is the only reason you're gonna watch that is that you record it off the TV.
Yeah. Sadly, I do know people who do watch shows that late at night, myself included, like me, for people with insomnia or just working late nights. But a lot of people that I tend to know that watch those shows are a little bit busy on the puff, the magic hair.
Oh god. We're talking about this with
a topic
like this.
Okay. Anything else you want to say more about the Mighty Ducks?
Yes, rewatching, I just realized how 90s it is because it's definitely playing off like, blank, insert animal name here sort of trend.
Oh yeah.
Like,
it's like, let's make a show about the fucking logo of the Mighty Ducks. That's basically what it is.
Yes, I remember being excited back in the day because first I thought it was based on like the Emilio Estevez movies.
Yeah, exactly. That's even more confusing that it would be about actual ducks when the movies have nothing to do with that.
Yeah.
It's weird watching the pilot.
It's kind of beautiful, honestly, when you think about it.
It's got great animation. There's no doubting that, but the story and characters are a bit weird. It's like definitely the animation and the voice actors are way too overqualified for this show. Because rewatching the pilot episode, you just realize how corny it is.
Oh yeah.
Like the origins, they're from another dimension, from the planet Puck. Yes, the planet Puck.
Oh wow.
Oh god.
Man.
And the story is, it's like this great warrior who stopped an evil race of dragon people. But joke's on them. One of the dragon people, played by Tim Curry, is alive and is planning his revenge attack. And pretty much enslaves the whole planet. Except, turns out, like, the hockey mask that the great warrior wore is magical, so whoever wears it, not only becomes the leader of the team, but they become like, like big and muscular, hulky sort of duck.
Tony J, in case somebody doesn't know, was the voice of Frollo in Hunchback of Notre Dame, and he's like one of the evil henchmen in the show. He's like the witch doctor character or something, and I just look at that and listen to the voice and think like, God, that's like acting talent going to waste right there.
Yeah. And once they sort of, Sorry, and once they sort of save the planet from being trapped up, it then takes a page straight out of the pilot episode Transformers to where the dragon guy's getting away and they chase him and they sort of end up on Earth. But the funny part is they just land on the planet, just walk around casually, and the first thing because they're trying to figure out what planet they're on, the first thing they see is like a hot dog stand called Wiener World, and they're like, that must be the name of the planet. But
so do they honestly go on the show, just keep going around, we have to save Wiener World or something?
But
wow.
But no, the thing that made me crack up most is when humans in a comic book shop see them. They're like, "What are you, mutants?"
Oh man!
Of course, alluding to the Ninja Turtle joke.
All right.
And they're like, "No, we're just intergalactic ducks."
Oh boy. I kind of wanted us to talk a little bit about maybe gummy bears, because that's a show that nobody ever talks about. Like Aqualung even complained, like, every fucking Disney TV show and movie in the early 90s and late 80s and early 90s got their own NES video game, but not fucking gummy bears.
Yeah, that's true. It was a good show, too.
I love it. I love that show. I love the theme song. But I think we need to just spare a few words before we get to the viewer questions. We have to spare a few words for the DuckTales remake, which we've already alluded to. And so, are you guys excited for the DuckTales remake?
Hell
yes.
Yeah!
I think it's going to be interesting. I also like the idea of Donald joining as a regular cast member. I think that's going to be interesting. The main thing that I'm still kind of, well, not on the fence. I'm just kind of like a little.
Like concerned?
I'm not even sure if concerned is the right word, but I'm just kind of. The art style, which is they're going to be using. It looks like the art style that Disney's been using for. I don't know if you've seen any of the newer Mickey Mouse shorts and things like that they've been doing.
Oh, I've seen those.
Yeah. I mean, they're really well animated, but they do have a little bit of that Flash feeling maybe on there. And that's the one thing I may be slightly concerned about. But I suppose if they still keep the quality of like the writing really high, I suppose it doesn't matter. So
yeah.
So that's why I'm not really concerned, because I think I want to believe that they're doing this with the best of intentions and not just making a huge cash grab off the name of the old show.
well, I know you haven't been currently following a lot of current Disney shows, but if you I mentioned the two that you guys haven't seen, like if you've seen Wander Over Yonder and Star vs. the Forces of Evil, that's done in Flash, or not Flash, but it's more like it's done on the computer, and it's really well done. I feel like it's gonna get used. I think you're gonna have to get used to it, and then it'll start improving. And if you definitely look at those two shows, they look amazing, like how it's animated. So I feel like
I'm just saying that I'm not really worried. That's the thing. Like, I don't want to say I'm concerned or worried. It's just that it just feels weird because I have this idea of DuckTales on my head, and now I see the promotional art that came out about it, and I still don't know really. I don't have like a take on it quite. I'm cautiously optimistic. Let's put it that way. Maybe that's the best way to put it.
Yeah, there we go.
Yeah,
that's best.
Personally, I hope that if the show is well written enough, I hope it actually goes successful. That way, it hopefully leads to remakes of other classic Disney shows like Darkwing Duck and maybe Chippendale, and yes, Gummy Bears.
Yeah, Gummy Bears. And also, I think people have to keep in mind. I know, sometimes we like to bring some of these classics, but I've seen a lot of those older IPs and were put into comics even.
Yeah.
And you can even follow those too. And I haven't read any of them, but I've seen previews of it, and it looks really well done. So. Have
you guys heard about the Chip and Dale's Rescue Rangers movie project?
No, I haven't.
This was a couple of years ago. They were talking about doing this. They were planning on doing it as a combination of live action and CG animation. But I think the movie has since entered production hell. Development hell. So it's gotten kind of stuck. So maybe, like what Kaiser just said, is that maybe if the DuckTales remake is successful, then maybe we'll also see Chip and Dale's Rescue Rangers come back as a show I would be okay with the movie personally. Like, I don't have that much of a problem with it if it was that CG live action combo.
Well,
But it just seems like Disney's kind of
after seeing the Alvin and the Chipmunk movies, another Disney
this-
show that I
this isn't
disliked as a
Alvin-
kid.
But this isn't Alvin and the Chipmunks, okay? But I'm just saying, the thing is, like, I wouldn't mind either way, but it just seems like Disney's kind of given up on the Chip and Dale's Rescue Rangers project. At least we haven't heard anything serious about it in a long while. So that's the thing, because that's another show that I wouldn't mind coming back. I wouldn't also mind Goof Troop coming back. I would maybe have a problem if it was a reboot, but again, if it was done well, I wouldn't have a problem with it. Yeah.
Or maybe even a sequel Goof Troop series where Goofy's a grandfather.
Well, I have a video, an old video on my channel about that, about why they should make a Goofy movie 3. And I have my own ideas about that, but it's, I guess we'll have to see. Any more thoughts about the DuckTales remake, though?
No. Well, there's only just been the promotional poster and the first art.
There's definitely not a lot to go on yet.
But it looks fine.
Okay.
So
Okay. Well, if there's nothing else if there's nothing more we want to say about the DuckTales remake, then I suppose we can start wrapping this podcast up. So we'll take a break. When we come back, we'll answer some questions from the listeners. So see you then.
Spin it!
And welcome back to White Devil Podcast, the final part of this podcast where we answer questions sent to us by listeners. And we're going to start this round of questions with Sindel Softbite. And he asks, what properties should Disney have a look at when making a new series? This could be a film or a series of books. Interesting question. Any thoughts on that?
I really don't know.
I reckon
It could be anything.
I reckon Disney could make a very decent Harry Potter animated series.
That's the thing I first came to mind as well. But again, that's Warner Brothers, so that's a Warner Brothers property, the movie. So yeah.
I really don't know exactly. No, I really got nothing, to be honest.
And when he says film, that's the thing that, what I said before is that a lot of the when they make like I said before, that when they make a TV show based off a Disney movie, I usually have a bit of a problem with it. Although, you know what? There would be one I think would actually be kind of interesting. Zootopia.
I totally forgot about that. Yeah,
that would totally make an awesome show.
It could work. Yeah. I mean, if they're going to make a Big Hero 6 TV series sometime in the future, I don't know when, though, but I've heard an announcement about it, which I totally forgot to mention it in our topic, but that's okay. Then surely, I could probably see Zootopia happening.
All right. So, what about Kaiser? Do you have any ideas?
Yes, I wouldn't mind.
You said already the Harry Potter one, but...
Yes, but another idea I wouldn't mind is, they make, these little 5-minute cartoons, based in the Wreck-It Ralph universe, so just, little 5-minute cartoons of the day in the life of, this video game character.
Yeah, that's actually interesting. I didn't mention it on the podcast, but I have caught a few episodes of the Pac-Man the Ghostly Adventures, I think, which is really funny, because we were discussing this off the podcast, and I told you that I thought Cylindria looks really cute, and your comment, your response to me was, "Sorry, I'm not into necrophilia."
Oh.
The funny part about that, though, is that you were thinking about Pinky, which is the ghost who has a crush on Pac-Man on the show, and Cylindria is the pink Pac girl from the show. Which I thought that was extra funny, how misfired that joke was. Sorry, I'm not into necrophilia.
Oh boy.
Yeah, but actually, yeah, I totally agree with that. I do think that doing sort of Wreck-It Ralph style. Well, Disney's clearly showed that they're not that they're not afraid of using video game properties. And isn't there like there's talk of doing a Wreck-It Ralph 2 as well?
Yeah. There's been an announcement lately
Yeah.
that there was going to be a Wreck-It Ralph.
I'm looking forward to that. So yeah.
Oh, so am I. It's one of my favorite Disney movies, that one.
All right, nice. So Team B, do you have any ideas of properties that Disney could turn into a series? Maybe one involving a dragon and a cat.
No, not really. No, not my ideas. I appreciate Disney, but no, because Jackson George, it's more of a restraint thing. How it's more, it has more of a kid and adult feel, and there's some things that I don't think Disney's gonna allow. So there's that. So I would say no. I would never put my original content. It's maybe for something else, but never.
I was kind of choking with that. So.
I know, but at the same time, I'm like, no, just no, don't.
Okay.
No.
As for jokes, here's a new Disney princess that they can add. Disney's animated series presents 50 Shades of Grey.
Oh. God damn.
No.
Oh,
No.
Okay.
I'm surprised there was no mention of Frozen or Moana that's coming out this year. Or
Frozen, they made that little short sequel to a short cartoon for it.
Oh, well, I was talking about more like a TV series. I'm surprised they didn't.
But Frozen, I think, I don't think, personally, I don't think maybe Frozen necessarily needs a TV show. I like the movie as it is.
Yeah,
so that's one that falls into the Little Mermaid, the TV show feel for me. Maybe not that. Wreck-It Ralph, I think, would lend itself well. Zootopia is another one that I think would lend itself well. But yeah, maybe not Frozen. Okay. Yeah. I can't really come up with anything else.
I think that's the best we can think of right now because I can't.
But thanks for that question, Sindel Softbite. For sending us, and sorry we couldn't come up with a more interesting answer. Well, we came up with some good answers. Let's not be too hard on ourselves. Okay.
Yeah, let's not overthink it. Yeah.
And the next two questions come from Boopop1987, who is one of my subscribers and also that makes her own movie reviews, and she's also sent us questions before. Okay, and she has two questions. Question number one. Have you seen the new Berserk anime, and what do you think of it? I have not. I know there's one person among us who wants to see it.
Yes, I certainly do.
Yes. Can you tell us a little bit about your relationship with Berserk?
Well, I didn't get into it until when the remake movies came out, when they were remaking the first few storylines. It's a very dark show, very dark, violent, and yeah, that's why I love it. It gives no fucks about what it wants to be.
Yeah, I've never watched Berserk myself. The only thing I know, literally the only two things I know about the show is that A, it is supposedly violent, and 2, one of the main characters is naked throughout the whole thing.
Yeah.
There's a lot of nudity in this show. Think of this. Before Game of Thrones, there was Berserk.
Oh, okay. It's that.
All I know is that Berserk, the original Berserk, has a pretty much what the fuck ending ever, and that's all I know. Also, I've heard about the new remake that just came out, and not a lot of people like it, I'm afraid. So it kind of goes to they're not really a big fan of how it's going at this point.
Interesting.
Because it's all in 3D, and the way that they execute scenes just seems like it's too close up, or the direction of how.
I know what you mean, and yes, I do agree with the 3D, especially in the movies. It looks a bit like the designs don't look anything like the 2D models, and plus the animation itself is incredibly choppy. It's
all right.
just
So yeah, it does have some problems, and I feel like I from what I've heard, because I watched some reviewers who do reviews of anime, and I think one guy named Digibros did mention some of the errors that has these problems with the new remake, and just saying what's the ordeal, what's the problem, and I feel like it might have to be the director that's doing something incredibly new and different So, and who knows how it's going to go. Maybe later it could improve, or maybe not. We'll just see how it goes.
All right.
And some of the things in Berserk is really disturbing as well.
Yeah.
Well, definitely disturbing.
Yeah, and for my own part, just because I really don't know the show at all, I really don't have any interest in the remake either. So or this new Berserk, whatever it is. So yeah, I guess we've covered that question. Okay. And her second question is, this one's a little vague. So okay, what is your favorite? No, it's not vague. Sorry. What is your favorite YouTube video so far that you enjoy the best?
That could be any. That could be any video. I feel like that's more broad than vague. Like that's more of a very broad.
I
question.
I have a definite answer. I think it's the E Maria video.
What's
You know
that?
what? It's the guy where the guy goes "E Maria" to the woman in a webcam, and then she goes "What?" and then he just slaps her in the face and gives a thumbs up to the video. That's an old joke video on YouTube.
I don't know if that could be acceptable.
Well, that is definitely a very broad question. That's
It's
okay.
too
One video
broad.
I like, especially I like to revisit every now and then, is a parody of Friends called Horror Friends, where instead
you
of
showed it
like
to me, yeah.
instead of like the usual cast of Friends, you got like Freddy Krueger, Michael Myers, even O.J. Simpson are like all roommates together, like just reliving like it's just a sitcom with horror movie characters.
Yeah.
Even though I kind of seen that before, like didn't Robot Chicken did an episode of that or a parody of that?
They did it with the horror characters in the Big Brother house.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
So
And
not
Mad
Friends.
TV and what was it? Mad TV did that, but they called it Fiends instead of Friends.
Oh, okay.
That's pretty clever. I know that video you showed it to me. It's a really old one though, and the production quality is not great. But I thought it was pretty funny though. I think the video that it's been a while, but I used to have this habit of watching periodically, just watching Aqualung's review and walkthrough of Super Pitfall all the way through.
Oh.
It's held up surprisingly well. That's the video that helped me get introduced to Ken. So
Okay.
so yeah, I haven't in a long while, but I think it is still my favorite video from him. So it's,
Yeah. I guess I can mention some things, even though my choices of videos are so like broad and varied, and I just follow a lot of people on YouTube. Let's just say that. But I think maybe if I see some compilations of Game Grumps with Dan and Aaron, I feel like with their commentary, I feel like I sometimes listen to those just to get myself in a better mood and just have a sense of humor. Well, not a sense of humor, but feel like have a better day. So I would mention that as like something I would probably watch from time to time. Not all the time, like compared to before, but once in a while. So.
Either of you seen Dog of Wisdom?
Nope. Oh, is that the one with the? I showed you that.
Yeah,
the CGI
I
dog.
think you did. I did.
I did.
I asked that, and then I should have realized like one of you probably showed it to me. It was
it was me. It was so I don't know. I think I saw it from somebody else, and I'm like, what is this random dog saying this bark bark bark? With these subtitles.
It's awesome. It's brilliant.
It's so random. So random.
There's also one, I don't remember the exact title, but it's like Baby's First Time on Ice or something like that. And it shows like a baby at winter time. It's on standing on some like this puddle that has frozen over, not a puddle that has frozen over, and she almost like falls back, but she like saves it, and then she leans forward. And then her head hits the ice.
Oh!
Not hard or anything, but she like keels over. It's the cutest, most little thing. I just from time to time I just watch it to make myself.
I thought you were talking about ice as in the drug for a second there.
What?
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 No, ice. Did you really watch that, Kaiser?
Oh, it sounds terrible. Oh, what's another video that I like watching? It's a real stupid one. Someone took like a live performance of the heavy metal band Slipknot, except they synced it up with the old Aqua song Barbie Girl.
Oh, no.
It's very juvenile, but I just find it funny.
Yeah, there's a guy, I forget his name, but he does excellent. What he does a lot of times is he takes out the vocals of like popular songs, and then he comes up with completely new original orchestration for them. And he's done like Michael Jackson does Man in the Mirror heavy metal style, and he's done like Iron Maiden does Trooper bossa nova style, and he has like the live performance of it as well, which makes it extra funny. There's like Smells Like Teen Spirit reggae version, and this one it was really poignant because it was right around the time, maybe, I think. No. It was a little bit before Leonard Nimoy died. But they did the episode of Star Trek, the original series, where there's these guys, it's Plato's stepchildren, and this is where they force Kirk and Spock to do all kinds of things, and they're in Roman get-ups. And Leonard Nimoy sings, the song is Bitter Dregs, but they made a reggae version, which is Bitter Dreads. So if you look for Bitter Dreads, I think you'll find it. But they made a really good reggae instrumentation for that. That's something that I really like listening to. Yeah.
Other ones is like very crude edits of Star Trek: The Next Generation.
Oh.
So
you sent me a few of those.
Yeah, especially the one with the Worf screaming, and it cuts to what Wesley getting hit in the face with a cream pie.
Oh God. Jesus.
Just stupid. Funny thing is, I first saw that video back on Attack of the Show, if anyone remembers that show.
Oh yeah, I remember. Yeah, I know. I've seen bits of that show, but not everything. But I know what you're talking about.
You know what's another staple that I love is the very first Bible games video from Angry Video Game Nerd. That's one that I enjoy watching.
Oh yeah, I remember saying that.
Yeah, that's another good one.
Sad thing is, I've got the DVD of that, the official DVD.
Oh really? That's cool.
Okay, interesting. All right. I can't think of anything more. What about you guys?
I don't know. There's. I think I'm pretty
like you said, it's a very broad question. I don't think I have like a definitive all-time favorite, but those are some of the ones. I gotta show you that baby one. It's really cute, actually. It's not like it's just really funny.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, but I suppose that wraps it up. Thanks for that question, BoobUp1987, and thank you to my guest, TheHande. Thank you for being on the show.
Oh, no problem. It was great to see you guys again, or maybe talk to you guys again.
All right, yes, and thank you, Kaiser, for being the co-host once again.
Yay! I get not rewarded. Ugh. I get complimented.
Yay! And yes, and thank you for everybody who listened to the podcast all the way through. I'm TheHande Mäkinen. This has been White Devil Podcast. See you on the next one. Guys, you got any last words you want to say?
I'm going to
bed. Or, fuck it. I'm done.
You're done. All right. Bye-bye. Bye-bye, everybody.
Bye.
DuckTales. Woo!
Welcome to the White Devil Podcast, episode 22, the Disney TV Cartoon Podcast. I'm your host, TheHande Mäkinen, and as always, I'm joined by my co-host. He comes from a land down under, where beer flows and men chunder. Can't you hear that thunder? You better run, you better take cover. It's Retrokaiser. Hello, Kaiser?
Did he just leave? Oh no, I think he left because he said he was going to get something.
Okay.
He said he was going to get
Stop the recording.
Gonna see a friend of mine. He's round and he's fun.